Hi, this is Rabbi Orlofsky, and welcome back to our third year of the Parsha in 5, where in 5 minutes we set out to give you insights into the Parsha, just a little short idea that you can say over at the Shabbos table, or hopefully just for yourself to get a little extra insight. Parshas Noach. Obviously, the last 2 years we spoke about the Mabul aspect of Parshas Noach, but that's not the only disaster that takes place in Parshas Noach. Yeah, there are 3 major stories of destruction in the Torah: Sodom and Gomorrah, which we haven't gotten to yet, the Mabul, and the second one of this week's parsha, which is the Dor HaFloga. What's the Dor HaFloga, or as some people pronounce it, Dor HaPalaga? Yeah, everybody got together and said, let's build a city and a tower. And the Kodesh Baruch Hu goes down to see this, and he gets very upset, and he changes everybody's language. Bavel is from Lashon of Mitbalbel. He mixes up everybody's languages and spreads them all across the earth. And that is the Dor HaFloga, which split up and it spread around, etc. What exactly did they do that was so terrible? In other words, the Chazal tell us that they were trying to get the entire world to serve Avodah Zarah, but it doesn't say that in the parsha. It didn't say they were all getting together to serve Avodah Zarah. It says they were getting together to build one city and one tower. And everyone spoke one language, and they were all united in this purpose. So what was the danger here? So I've mentioned this in the past, that the Jewish people, our story is the story of all of people kind. We did not start with the Jewish people. Right? The Christian calendar begins with the birth of Yoshka, and the Muslim calendar begins with Muhammad's first vision from Allah that becomes the Quran. Ours starts with the creation of the first human being, and we don't leave out anybody. Everybody's in our story. Non-Jews get roles to play as well. And so the first 2 parshios, which is close to 2,000 years, there's no Jews to be seen. Avraham becomes the first Jew. He makes his appearance in next week's parsha, Lech Lecha. But until then, this is just world history. Avraham ha-Ivri. What does Ivri mean, say the Chazal? He was be'ever echad, and the entire world was ever hasheni. He was on one side, and the entire world was on the other side. He was literally the first iconoclast. You've heard the term iconoclast, which we use today to mean like an individual, right? Iconoclast means he broke the icons, he broke the psalim, the statues. And he was literally the first iconoclast. He went around and smashed all of the idols. In order to be able to have individuals, you have to a certain extent, sacrifice the sense of absolute unity. And very interesting. So Thomas More wrote a book called Utopia, which of course is a little bit of a joke, because in Latin, "u" means not, and topia is a place, so utopia means no place. And he writes the perfect society, and there is really no room for freedom of expression in this society. Everybody dresses the same. Everybody has to act the same. It's basically a precursor of a communist society. And the picture that they put on top of the book, at least in my particular edition, was a painting of the building of the Tower of Babel. Because that's what it was. It was total unity, and to the point where we could not breach any exception. There would be no individuality. And if that world was allowed to exist, there could never be an Avram Avinu. And there HaKadosh Baruch Hu held up a prism to mankind, whereas a prism splits light into 7 colors. So this prism split all of the languages into 70 languages and spread people around to give them the opportunity to develop their own personality and kochos, something that can't happen when we insist on rigid conformity. And so every society has this difficulty. How do you guarantee uniformity and at the same time allow room for individual expression? And that's ultimately the goal. You can't have everybody where you stifle any sense of individual achievement, and you're not going to have a world. You have to be able to have the opportunity for individuals so that a Rabbi Yisrael Salanta can pop on the scene and start a Mussar movement, so that different individuals that history have been able to revolutionize the way we look at the world. And needless to say, the same thing is especially true if we want to have a Jewish people who is be'ever acher, who is living a different life, who is an Ivri. And that's why Migdal Bavel tells us the story that absolute uniformity is not necessarily the best way. Good Shabbos.